As the clock strikes 7, the vitalize. Inner circles here, where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. Inner Circle podcast where love is well known.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, April 3rd, and it is our regular segment. Today, we should have had Representative Maria in studio with us discussing living in limbo, legal immigrants under fire in the second Trump administration. But unfortunately, she can't join us tonight. So what we will do tonight, we have a great panelist here. We're going to flip the script a little bit and discuss all things immigration, right? We're going to discuss all things immigration. So if you are an immigrant, like most of us are, there are a lot of things going on right now regarding immigration. Folks that like to travel to the motherland, wherever you're from, when they are coming back, some of them are getting arrested, are getting searched. There's so much going on, some aspect of immigration right now. So tonight, we're going to be discussing all things immigration in place of our regular topic, which we have had tonight. Hopefully, we'll reschedule the representative and she will be able to appear here to discuss that other aspect. But again, I'm your host, Abe Kamara, and tonight we have three great panelists as always. So we're going to discuss all things immigration. And Mel, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Abe. Good evening, everybody.
Okay, Miss B.
Good morning. Good evening, everyone. It's your girl, Miss B, and excited to be here tonight. It's about to get interesting.
Is it good morning, Broken Park? Just wondering.
I can do that.
Yes,
As a black queen, I have the power to do that.
Okay, Peterson.
Good evening, as Ms. B said, good morning. It is morning somewhere, but good evening, everyone. This is Peterson from Chicago, and let's talk about this tonight. Welcome to the show. Join, contribute.
Yeah. Okay, folks, thank you to our great panelists. Folks, there is an Inner Circle podcast. There is a community show. As I said, for us, we are here to amplify and elevate immigrant voices. And tonight's topic just kind of a fit into that because, as I always say, most time on this show, right? It's like we immigrants are here. This is where we live our lives. This is where we pay our taxes. This is where we do everything. But sometimes we get distracted, not focusing on the things that are going on here. So for us here at Inner Circle Podcast, we like to focus on things that are affecting us in these United States. So tonight, immigration is a hot topic. The administration policy is to have mass deportation. The first was to be violent criminals, but now whether people with minor or nothing, right, are getting caught up in all of these things. So Mel, man, what do you think about the current environment, right? The current environment is so is that I can go on list so many things where you have U.S. citizens, green card holders, even as folks with visa, folks with student visa or work visa, travel maybe to see their relative, and then coming back to the United States, right? Is like they get detained interrogated. In some instances, they have one or two deportations, but in others, right, they get released. But I mean, it's just a terrifying situation. What do you think about the current environment?
The key word is terrifying situation, confusing, right? I think from the onset of this administration, they kind of play a lot of emphasis on illegal immigrant, which if you talk to a lot of people here would be something I think the U.S. government, found means to handle. But now that you have legal immigrants, like you mentioned, students that come to the USA, they didn't come here illegally. They come here by legitimate means, right? Legitimately. They basically apply and they accept them and they give them visa to be here for a specific amount of time until they are done. Now, the example you just gave of people that are currently, legal with their visa being arrested and detained. Just today, I'll give you a little bit of story. Just today, I was watching news. There's this German guy who is a tourist. He has a tourist visa, came to America, and his visa is up to 6, 7 months, right? Till the expiration date. He traveled to Mexico. Coming back to the US of A, he got arrested and jailed for 15 days, right?
Mm,
Somebody who's legal. So it's confusing and it's kind of questionable. There are a lot of unanswered questions that we don't know what the motive or the motives are for this administration as it relates to immigration as a whole. I think we're looking at it from the onset like illegal immigrant. If somebody is illegal, there are two things that might go wrong. How do you live in this country and just be working under the table and be abused? And it's good for you to be legal
okay.
to make sure you have things taken care of. But now that you are targeting people that are legal, it's questionable. And the key word you just used, my brother, is terrifying and it's
Yeah.
confusing. And now you have, I'll give you a little bit of stuff before I kind of close with that, and then you can go to the next person. According to the American Immigration Council, right? The population of the immigrant community in America, legal immigrants,
Okay.
1 million legal immigrants within the US of A. Now, these are people that hold green cards. With these going on, it's confusing to them. I'm
Okay.
legal. I have a permanent green card. Now I'm seeing people being arrested that are legal. What becomes of me? These are questions a lot of these
Okay.
people, 13 million human beings asking. So we have a lot of unanswered questions. I think the administration need to be clear on their stance on this issue.
Okay. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing all things immigration. If you are immigrant, like four of us here are, right? It's a lot of immigrants out there, like Mel just said, right? Those are legal about 14.1 or 14.4 or something in that, I mean, something in that range. So if you are immigrant, you want to contribute to the conversation, you can put a comment in the chat or call our number 952-594-5154. You can also follow Inner Circle Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's a growing community. Follow us on Facebook. It's a growing community as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, LinkedIn, X, everywhere, man. We are all over. There is a growing movement. Great. So, Miss B, though, this whole thing about immigration, right? Immigrants, some folks have been here a long time, they have you've been hearing stories where there have never been a situation like this, right? You have had moments where in like deportation is a common deportation is a normal thing the US government have always done. But now it seems like it's taken to a whole nother level, like 360-degree flip. I mean, it's like, what kind of a message is that sending to immigrants all over this country, who some of them, as I said, have been here for a long time? What message is this sending? What message is the administration, you think, from your perspective, is trying to send to the
I
immigrant
mean,
community?
like, I think I want to harp on the fact that you said deportation is always happening. If you are here outside of being born here, just know that your stay here can be temporary, right? It's not guaranteed. That's the unfortunate thing. It's not guaranteed. It's temporary, and that's if you go to any country. However, our population size is not that huge. We're like 340 million people in this country. That's including the 47 million legal immigrants, and that's including the 11 million illegal immigrants. We're a pretty small country compared to the global, size, right, in the world, right? And when you see how much wealth is in this country, we're a pretty small country, right? And even the amount of jobs. And the reason why I want to uplift this is probably to take that fear from people that, oh, they need to go back, right? They're harmful, they're impacting us in a negative way. The reality is we need the immigrants. We will need the 47 million ones that are here legal, and we need the 11 million ones that are illegal. We should be trying to figure out, why is the answer that we should send people back? Why aren't we trying to figure out how do we keep them legally? Nobody's thought about that, right? Why is it that we have illegal people here and the first thing we need to do is send them back? Why isn't it, how do we figure out how these people can become legal? They're already here.
Okay. Well, two things to that though, right? First, I like to push you a little bit. You say that except you are born here, but it's not guaranteed. I mean, it's like I have a problem with that, or maybe I'm confused, right? It's like if you come here as a legal immigrant, you go through all the processes and you become a citizen. Are you saying it's not guaranteed? You could still be deported? I mean, I just want to clarify that.
Yes.
If
Yes,
you
and we're
become a
seeing
citizen,
that
if you
as
become a citizen,
if you're not seeing it more clearly now in this administration, that's one thing the other administrators didn't bother with, legal people. This administration is really sending
but yes, the administration is not bothering. Even though if you are a citizen and they happen to arrest you, they are not. Maybe I mean they will say, well, it's a mistake, sorry, and hey, go your way, right? Lawsuit might come from there. But as a U.S. to me, as I understand it, even now in a heightened environment, once you become a U.S. citizen, you're good.
no. Why? And this is not even prior to this administration. Naturalization as a citizenship does not mean you are protected forever. That's why I strongly want you to understand and process. Only those who are born in this country, because just think about it. If you're not born here, there's somewhere I can deport you to. If you're born here, where am I going to send you to? What other
Well,
country am I
we'll,
going to
we'll
send you
have
to?
to we'll have to bring our immigration lawyer here to clarify that because
There, I
I have
know
a
for a
problem with
fact.
that. I have a
I know
problem
for
with
a
that.
fact.
For a
I know
fact,
for a
okay.
fact people have lost their citizenship and have been sent
You have
back home.
examples. You have examples of that.
Huh?
You
I'm not
have
about to tell
examples.
people business here, but we
Oh
know
no!
people
Oh no!
who
Oh no!
have.
Like, no, no, no. No one is saying that you should call name, but you have. It's a fact, like
It's a
people.
fact that you have people who have
Mhm,
lost and been stripped of their citizenship and
mhm.
been deported.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. As I said, right, we'll probably need to bring an immigration lawyer, an immigration expert to clarify that because we don't want folks taking that and running with it. You say you're trying to uplift people, but now I think you have created
No,
more
I was
fear,
trying to
more
remove
fear,
the fear.
more
I'm
fear,
trying
right?
to remove the fear
More
of
fear.
citizens
And
thinking
I
that
think you have created more fear. But
illegal
anyways,
immigrants are a problem. Illegal immigrants are not a problem. And we shouldn't be saying the solution to illegal immigrants is shipping them back
well,
to where
well,
they come from.
well, Miss B, though, if someone come here, there are legal processes of coming to America, right? You and I, there are legal processes of coming to
What are
America.
the legal process?
If
Remind us
someone
what the
come
legal
here,
processes
if
are.
someone come here illegally, it means they
What's the
have
legal
broken immigration.
process?
It means they have broken immigration laws. I mean, you can like Mel said earlier,
What are the legal process,
you can
Abraham?
apply for a visa, right? There are green cards, there are processes to obtain a green card when there are a lot of ways, there are a lot of legal means.
No, no, no. You're
Okay.
saying there are
Uh-huh.
legal ways to come here. Don't
Yes.
tell me what can happen when you're here already
No,
illegally.
I mean, once you are here, right, it creates legal pathways. Once you come here as a green card holder, right, let's say you're on a legal pathway to obtain your green card. What's in there not to lead on a path of citizenship?
Give people the specific ways in which they can become, where they can come to America legally.
There are a lot of legal ways. How are you acting that you don't know that?
I don't know. Please educate
Oh,
me.
okay. Anyway, it's like your political background trying to, blind you a little bit tonight. So,
Melvin, if you know the answer
but,
to this question, can you
but
please
we
tell me what
skip
are the
that.
legal ways
But we skip
in
that.
which people
They
can
are
leave their home
they,
country and come to
they,
America?
You have diversity
there are
visa. You
multiple
can do,
legal ways, like
yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
One of them is the electronic diversity visa, which allows like
Okay.
summer. The other one is refugee. If your country,
Resettlement.
resettlement. If your country is, at war and something is going on, you feel not safe.
Asylum.
Political
Yeah.
asylum. Your
Nope.
parents can send for you by just filing for you and doing
Chain,
that DNA
that's what they
test.
call chain
Student.
migration. Chain migration.
Yeah, got
So
student
there are
visas. We
multiple
got
legal ways.
work
You
No,
got
no, no, no,
permit.
no.
marriage.
Don't call
You,
visas. Let's stick to what Melvin said. Melvin said there's the lottery,
Yeah.
the
There's a
lottery, and what
yeah
else? And
a
and
refugee
another
no
thing
resettlement
is
marriage.
program.
a refugee program. Even that that could be argumentative because you have to find your way by yourself here some way somehow and then apply for that refugee status. So
No,
that would be my argument. So the
no,
only real
no,
don't
no,
you guys
no,
said
no,
come
no.
here
Miss B,
legally.
Miss B,
No,
stop providing misinformation on this platform
no,
tonight.
because
As a refugee,
so
as
you
a
apply for refugee status in like let's just say what
All of those Liberians that were in Bujumbura, Ivory Coast, this like a Danande, or those monks that were in Laos or wherever they were, and the
they
USA.
still have to come here, Abraham, and apply for
But the
refugee
agency brought
status.
them. Agency brought them. They were
No,
brought here
so
by the agency.
it depends. It depends on how you come here. So for the
Exactly.
refugees, if the refugees it mentioned the Liberian refugees, which I know a little bit about, there was a repatriation program that it came on, and that program was responsible to handle a lot of those things. They will do all of the processes, make sure they be somewhere safe where they are taken care of, and they'll run after their documents and things and make sure they have those things. Like churches, they'll go through some churches, they'll go through, people that know you, depending on, if you have family here. But the agency, the repatriation agency, which kind of involve the Red Cross, the United Nations, and those kind of people, run
And
after
that
your.
program, did not even start with Liberia. It's not limited to Liberia. The Somalians have benefited from that program a lot. The Hmong community have benefited from that program. Even Ukraine today, Ukrainians are benefiting from that program. Okay, there's like Afghanistan. Folks in Afghanistan have benefited from the refugee resettlement program. So that's a worldwide program. And you say,
It's a selective program. Okay.
it leads you on the path of obtaining a green card and eventually a citizenship.
But look at the extenuating circumstances in which you're talking about people can
Oh,
legally
come on!
come
Now
to
you're
this
trying to bring
country.
politics into this thing. Yeah,
But that
that's the
is
thing
the
about you
root of
liberals sometimes.
why.
You might
But,
have a
but
problem with
look
the
at the reasons
administration,
why
but
you say
do
somebody
not
should come
distort.
here,
You might have
Abraham.
a problem with the administration policies, right? Let's say, but do not distort the facts, right? There's things that exist. Don't go. Okay, don't do that, right? It's like
I
okay,
didn't.
there are legal ways of coming
I
here.
didn't say anything exists. I asked you a question, and you answered my
And
question.
we just went
You've
through it
given
with the
me
help.
two. You've given me two resources in which
And
people can
pediatrician, okay,
leverage to
pediatrician
come here.
asylum,
Giving me
pediatrician
two
asylum,
resources, right?
asylum
And
is
they're
one of
both
those.
of them. As
Asylum,
asylum
meaning,
is not a way.
meaning,
Again,
meaning,
you apply for asylum when you get here. When
yeah,
Abraham, yes.
yes,
So
that's the
therefore,
third
it's not
way.
a way that you're entering here legally.
Oh,
But
come
another
on,
piece
man.
to
If
make
you don't
is
qualify for the asylum, what
Come
is
happens
through
is
on,
they
Miss
tell you
marriage.
B,
go
come
back.
on, Miss,
If they
come on,
deny
Miss
you the
B.
asylum aid, they send you back home. So therefore, you become here illegally. If your
It is still
asylum
a legal,
status
it
is
is
not,
still a legal way. It's like it is a program when you come here, it still
thank you.
spread it. If
You
you
have
enter
to
here,
come
right, you can
here
apply
and
for it.
qualify. But then until you if you don't get approved for that asylum, you become illegal. And then they'll
So
tell you
then,
that you are denied, and they'll give you a time to go back home
What is
voluntarily.
your
okay, so
argument?
Instead of
What
then,
is
the
your argument
deportation
here?
list.
so that Ms.
What's
B
your
is
argument?
said that every means that you come to the U.S. is illegal until you get here. Then you find a legal way to like get into the system. Is that what you?
Yeah, what's your argument?
That's what I'm just saying. There
Okay.
are more ways to come here illegally and hopefully apply for legal status than there are
That's not
ways to enter the country legally. And
that's
here
not
it
true.
is. You
That's
guys
not
only
true.
provided me two ways in which
That's not
you
true.
can
That's not
enter
true.
this
That's
We
not
country
we
legally.
name a lot, Miss B.
You
that's
You
not
said
name
true. That's
a
you
lot.
not
said the
true.
DV and you said refugee. Those are
And I
two
said
ways.
through marriage.
And there's
Marriage
an
is
EB
another.
and there's an EB1 visa. There's a work program. There's so many
Yeah,
programs.
multiple. We
Yeah.
might
But I'm
not
not talking
know.
about things that give you certain
So what are
situations
you
in which
talking
you can
about?
be here.
If I think
You gotta thank you, Melvin. Answer him for me.
what I'm
You
understanding
have
from
no
Miss,
argument.
what
A
I'm
visa
under,
program is not a program to come here and be citizen. I know people who are here with work visas, Abraham, and the work visa does not give you
Okay,
any
what about chain
pathway to
migration? What
citizenship.
about chain migration? A lot of
H-1B does
Nigerians.
not give you
Okay,
any
okay,
pathway to citizenship
okay.
unless
Yes,
you
I
marry
think what I'm
somebody while
understanding,
you're here on that
if
work visa.
let's move on. What I'm understanding from Miss B is
hmm.
if you apply for these things and you come, you are still illegal until you obtain status, right? Now,
Yes.
they
Which
are
thing?
they are, but Miss B, I want you to understand too. there are other legal means you will have within your country of origin. Come here and still you are legal once you come in. Like the electronic diversity visa is one. You apply
Yes,
for
I
it,
agree.
claim that within your passport, you come, you can even start work immediately
I
without your.
agree. Yes.
That's
Okay.
legal,
Okay.
and there are multiple. So that's what we're trying to say. There are multiple legal
Yeah.
means. We have legal lawyers to or immigration lawyer to explain a lot the pathway and legal means, but we are naming a few. So there are few, few
Here's
legal
one of
means
the most.
that you
Here's
come to the
one of the
US
most.
with.
Here's one of the most. Here's one of the most ways that immigrants come to come to this country. Chain migration. Okay, and that's one of the things. Even when Trump 1.0. That's the thing. First, they were trying to attack. Chain migration is one of the most popular way folks come in. I mean, Peterson, you're an immigrant from Liberia. You got your parents in Liberia, or you have kids in Liberia, or you want to file for someone, your fiance or whoever. You can apply for them. At that point, they are legal.
Yeah.
Okay, they are on a pathway to come and obtain a green card and then once you obtain your green card, you're on the way to become a citizen. So there's so chain migration, as Mel said, there's a diversity visa and the asylum program that Peterson alluded to, and the refugee program. Besides that, there are a lot of other means to come here legally.
There's not
So I don't
many
know what's your
ways to
argument.
come to this country. My
Okay.
argument is
Anyway, your
there
argument is your argument
you
is
name
political.
two
The
situations.
reason we are in this
The
problem,
The DV visa
here's
is
the thing,
very
right?
it's a
The reason we are
lottery.
the
It's a
reason we are where
limited
we
a
are
number of
today.
people. Listen, the DV program is a lottery. It's a limited number of people that can go every year. It's worldwide played, right? And first of all, they pay for them. They pay for everything themselves, right? And it only allows 50,000 people every year. And those 50,000 people only come from countries that have low migration here. So if there's
It's
not a lot
what's
of
the
y'all here
argument
from
Yeah,
your
here?
country
We
okay.
have
that
It's
need
the
so many
migration.
ways
DV,
to come
the
into this
DV
country.
I
program.
have not
Is it
argued
open
against
to
the
other
DV
countries?
program.
Is it open to other Western countries?
It's open to any country, right?
No, no,
I
I'm not
think
talking about
maybe
for them
some
to come
countries
here,
have
for them to go to like England or go to like Germany. Do they have like the DV program?
the
No,
diversity visa program is
Yeah.
for America. It's like the it's the
it's only
U.S.
limited to
diversity
America.
immigrant visa program. It's not for other countries.
Mhm.
Other countries, this is the thing. Other countries have a pathway where no matter how you got here, you register yourself when you're there, right? And you, after being some time, there's a pathway. Being in their country for some time, there's a pathway to citizenship.
Which
Ours
country?
is not
Name
like
any
that
Western country.
because the reality is,
Name
if
any
we
Western
had
country
that,
like that.
eh?
Name any Western country that has a liberal immigration policy compared to is compared to the United States. Name one.
Canada,
Whoa,
Canada.
come on, man. Come on, man.
Yes, there's a lot of Liberians that have
Okay, we
left
gotta move. We gotta
America
move
where they
on, Miss
couldn't get
B. The reason,
their
first of all,
status
right? There's a
changed.
lot.
They have gone to Canada and have gotten their status changed
Okay, we
because
gotta move on, Miss B.
there's a clear pathway to citizenship. In America, even those who are in this system would tell you, and this is me talking to immigration lawyers, will tell you our pathways to citizenship is the worst. We have the worst immigration and system. The system is old and it's broken. We have a system
Who,
that has not been upgraded since the 70s.
who are
When in
those
the
you be talking?
70s,
Who
it
are
was
those
a
you be
free
talking to in
fall.
your? Who are those you be
You
talking
didn't
to in your
have
system? Those
fingerprints.
that share your
People could
political
easily
view.
come here and get it and change their status. It was easier in the 70s because there were not all these barriers, right?
Okay. So, Miss B, we gotta move on. But yes, one thing I gotta say to that, right? The reason why we are here, where we are today, because when you guys took power in 2021, you decided to have this open border. Everyone was just flooding in. Now you see, like, is everyone was just flooding in, like, it's like you had a whole open border policy today, right? While we're trying to fix that problem, we find ourselves here, right? Everyone is caught in limbo, but we don't want to dwell on that, right? And now you want to bring a different angle here of saying, hey, like it's hard to come to to the United States through legal means. That's not true. But anyway, we
It
gotta
is.
move on. But Peterson, man, with the like Miss B have taken like almost like 24 minutes. I
That's
put
okay.
I put I
Let
put
the
the
woman
time
flow.
just to make a political point, right? Just to make a political point. Can you imagine that? Just to make a political point. Can you imagine that? But Peterson, the, with the current environment we live in, right? like it feels like, as I've said on this program many times, right? Immigrants are being so vilified, right? There's so much negative, I mean, so much negative narrative. What it is that we are doing wrong as immigrants, that we have all of these negativity surrounding us? Is it that we are not doing much to tell our stories, to, I mean, talk about the contribution we are making in this country? Like Miss B, I see she's passionate about the 11 illegal million that are here and the 47 legal that are here. Okay, but is it that those people that are here, we are not telling our story enough? I mean, what's up with all of the negativity?
Yeah, it's like what usually said, the noisy field try to drown out the
Mm,
silent mass.
mm,
So the silent majority. So uh, even when it comes to like crime or violent crimes, the illegal immigrants, and once again, when we talk about somebody being here illegally, it means
mm,
they did not have authorization to come in. So, like all the other means that we're discussing earlier, they
mm,
give you permission or they give you the authorization to say, okay, you are allowed to enter into the country, whichever way it is, whether you're here to work, resettlement, whatever, but you are given that authorization. But there are those who come undocumented, they don't have any type of proper document to come in. But the minority feel that within the immigrant community, all of these like wrong that they do is amplified. It's out there because if the government come into a community or immigrant community of 100,000, and then they hear report or there's data that shows like, oh, there were burglaries like committed by 10 people, that is going to make the news more than if you have 100 or 1,000 people that are doing good in the community. Because like I said, we are not good at amplifying the good that is done in the community. You will not go, people do not set um, they do not go on purpose to like hospitals and say, "Oh, how many of the doctors here are immigrants or from a country of origin that is different from the U.S." Those are
mm.
not stats that people are looking for, but negative selves. So they usually
But
look for negative things within the community, and then they amplify that.
yeah, but Meldo, right? As I said, I've always said, right, whose responsibility is it to tell our stories? Whose responsibility to tell the immigrant stories? To Peterson point, right? If someone come and say, hey, it's like if a Caucasian or Hispanics or whoever come into maybe the Black African community and say, hey, man, there's two crimes here. They might go, relay that story, based on whatever objective they have. But whose responsibility is it to tell the immigrant story, right? Whether negative or positive?
So yeah, a great question. Great question. I think it's good to blame both sides of the aisle and hold both sides of the aisle responsible to tell the immigrant story. The immigrants
Who
themselves, the
who? What
immigrant.
I mean, can you make it clear
I
to
will
me? So
come there.
both sides of the aisle.
I will come there. The immigrants themselves need to sell themselves. We are doing a lot of good things in this country that are not being put out there like that, and that is on us, right? Now, the 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 government themselves, people that are responsible to report these news, should try not to focus on the negativity and try to play a lot of emphasis on the positive contributions the immigration community continue to make in the great US of A. In 2018, right, report by the Center of American Progress indicated that the immigration community contributed 2 trillion to the US GDP. Now, outside of that, $405 billion was paid in taxes by these people. Now, think about that number. The government should try, or agency or police department, whoever carrying the information, should play emphasis on this number. They're not doing that. But it take that minute portion of bad things that happen. My brother, a majority of the immigrant population don't commit crime. Majority of them, right? A lot of these people are scared. They are here to make their lives better. We got to look at the genesis. We got to look at the reason why people come to the US of A. This place attract a lot of people because they have a lot of opportunities. And people that
Okay.
look for opportunities, majority of
Okay.
them are here to make sure they make use of these opportunities. Making use of opportunities is ensuring they are doing the
Yeah.
right, is ensuring they're working, they're helping their family out. But those things are not being, amplified within the new broadcasting. But look at the
Okay.
negativity. So
Yeah.
both sides, when I said both sides need to do a better job, we ourselves should put ourselves out there, and then the government themselves, local government, federal government, should do a better job on just the number I just gave, putting that
Okay.
number out there and taking
Okay.
a good number of people. A lot of immigrants work within higher, like these key
Okay.
institutions or organizations, and they're contributing tremendously to this economy.
Okay. Mel, here's my take on that though. I think if you say both sides to me, right? First of all, right, based on my political view, I'll tell you, right, that's not a government role or government job to say. The government have produced those data. I mean, these data are coming from the government, right? They are telling you immigrant contribution to this country. Now, to me, I believe, right, the immigrant community, wherever you find yourself, African immigrant, from South America, wherever you're from, right? It should be our responsibility as immigrants to what? To sell those numbers. It shouldn't be the government or anybody else or the Caucasian to go to come and sell those numbers on our behalf. It should be the immigrant community, whether we should be establishing what we just established here with the Inner Circle podcast, right? To bring these stories to light, right? Or other news medium and things like that to sell those stories. But
Hey,
as I've always said here many times, right? And Peterson just kind of re-emphasize that the noisy minority is focusing on what? The wrong things, focusing on a lot of gossip, on parties, on so many things, right? There. You have what? To your point, you have
want to
doctors, you
answer,
have
but
medical
I don't
doctors,
know if you
you have
still on, but
scientists, you have these people that their stories are not being told. They are immigrants. No one is telling their story. Those that are born here, the Caucasian, are not going to. That we had Adi here yesterday, right? Adi here last night. Smart guy, right? Let's say, he's from where? He's from Great Britain. Who's going to tell his story? You expect what? Who you expect to tell Adi's story? Mel, are you frozen? Oh, yeah, okay, Miss B, go ahead. Mel, sometimes the mega don't start internet, so he let to freeze. Go ahead, go ahead, Miss
Abraham,
B. Yeah.
telling the story is not the issue.
What's the issue
Right.
then?
The issue is because this country is data inundated with data. Data is at the top of everything this country does. They keep data for a reason. How else will you know there's 11 million illegal people here, right? If you wasn't keeping data.
Mhm.
So they have the data, and those who, depending on who wants to tell the narrative, they'll have the data to tell the good narrative. They'll have the data to tell the bad narrative.
But you also have access to the data, though.
Okay, so I have access to the data, and I'm
Yeah.
using my data to tell you there is limited ways in which to access this country
No,
legally.
that
You
other
don't
data
want
you
to
want to bring
refute
is
it.
wrong. Yeah,
Refute it.
we're talking
But
about.
to
We're talking
back
about.
to your argument, you're saying that we should use the medium to tell our story to do what? To say that 11 million of us that are here are good people, and therefore we should become legal?
First
What
of
is
all,
the point of the data?
okay, the point of the data is to what? Is to tell the immigrant story, the good stories that Mel alluded to. Wait, the
To
good
lead to
stories that
what?
Mel.
maybe
Hey,
I'll respond to it. I know
the
our pause
medical
is going
doctor,
about.
the medical doctors, the scientists, right? You and I that are in, they have a nonprofit doing good work in the immigrant community, right? Who's highlighting you? Are your
To
people
tell the
highlighting
story
you?
to lead to what? What do you want the story to impact?
So many things that
You
I don't
want
think
the
you have
story
all
to
of this negativity that you have today.
the argument here is what? We're talking about illegal
I'm saying so.
immigrants.
The question I asked Peterson earlier, right? And and Peterson answered it brilliantly, right? The question I asked Peterson earlier. There's so much negativity to what, like right now. The narrative right now you have with immigrants, right? When they play Trump is pulling hard, it's immigration. That's when they play he's pulling hard. Why? Why is he pulling hard on that? Because he has announced mass deportation. So whether you are here legally or illegally or whatever your status is, right? Once you hear immigrant, you are what? You commit crime. You are not contributing to this country. You should go back to where you're coming from. And Peterson said, right, it's like our stories is not being told. And that's the point I'm coming from, right? The positive
Hey,
stories. Yeah.
Ms. B, let me. I know I was frozen a little bit earlier for some reason. But
Yeah, you need to work on that low start
the
internet,
point,
my man.
man, get out of here, man. The point I was trying to make is about the negativity out there. The narrative needs to change, right? The immigration community don't have that bandwidth to reach to everybody. The government and news agency do, right? But the story they put out there about the immigration community creates the narrative that the immigrant are doing more bad things than good. Now, the data is there. How many people got means to go look for data? Is it? Yes, the data. How many Americans will go and tell, say, what are the immigrants within America doing? What are their contributions? None. But what are they watching? News. What are they reading? News. And these news are being put out there by the immigrant community. It's all about negative. And news agents say do these things for publicity to reach out to people. It's the same within every area. Now, if government seeing these positivity, showing these data they have that we just spoke about, I don't know if I have not said I would not have gotten this data. The government has the data somewhere, so they can put these things out there as well to reduce the negative narrative they have about the immigration community. Within America, how many immigrant population that will own news agency that will cover the entire America?
You
How
know,
many? Aside from just you and myself, how many people watching Inner Circle podcast that we're talking about here right now? We're putting out the positivity. We're calling people here every time that don't go within the immigration community. How many Americans watching these things? And these are things
they do
because
watch,
of
and
the
eventually they
government
will
and
watch
all
it.
behaving.
Eventually they will watch it.
No, you say eventually we'll watch it. How many people
Yeah.
watching? That was my
Something got
question.
to start somewhere.
No, we started
CNN did not
somewhere,
just
and
CNN did
that's
not
not the
just blow
point.
up
You
to become
mentioned
a
the
Eventually, by
global.
the
That's
argument.
by the time
don't
the
mix
11
the
million will be
argument
down to 5
again.
million.
You
Don't mix
mentioned
the
the argument.
argument. Let
You
it land. Go
you
ahead,
mentioned the
Melvin.
argument. You mentioned the argument. We
Yeah.
started this thing how long ago? Last year around July,
July,
right?
yeah, July, yeah.
How long have the negative narrative about immigrants been in the news from the genesis of it,
Well,
right?
when we
Yeah.
started,
Now, and
when we
that's where
started,
I'm coming from. So
we're not
government,
talking positive stories. When we first started, we're focusing on some things
No,
that
he's
if
not
you
are
if
talking
you
not a
about
listen
us,
negative.
to the Inner
Abraham.
Circle
He's talking
podcast,
about
we're
the
talking
negativity being
holistically.
reported for Genesis. Go ahead, yeah.
We're talking holistically, and that's where I'm coming from. Government has a role to play in this to remove this narrative. Not holistically remove it, but make sure pin the immigrant community out there like that. Why is Trump going after the immigrant within America? You and myself don't know. The beginning of it was to go after illegal immigrant, which I think everyone of us here will agree with. Why now we going after legal immigrant? We don't know that. And these things are creating the narrative more and putting it out there to even amplify the negativity surrounding the immigration community within the US of it. The government has a part to play, my
Yeah.
brother. You can't withhold that.
No, it
The
Yes.
amazes
government
me.
does have a
No,
big role to play.
two
You and
things. Two
myself don't
things.
have that bandwidth. We don't have that network. We can reach out to every American. We cannot.
Okay.
Government does.
Two things that always amazes me about laborers, right? The excuses and blaming government for everything. Excuses and blaming government. That's the two things that always amazes me about laborers.
And why
Guys,
are you never
The,
at fault?
the
Why is
thing, the
government
thing
never
is,
at fault?
we can be
If you guys are
oblivious.
at
you
the
know,
head
it's
of
always,
this country, why is the head never at fault?
it's always trying to why it's always
Well,
other
I don't
people's
like
fault.
people who never like to accept responsibilities
It's
and
not the
and
laborers.
don't
It's
like to be
always
held
other people's fault.
accountable.
What?
Okay,
Yeah,
then why government doesn't like to accept
also,
responsibility and don't like to
Okay,
be held
yeah,
accountable?
no,
Peterson come
I
here.
was gonna
Peterson
say
come
also,
here.
I was thinking, when Ms. B was asking, when we talk about amplifying the immigrant voice, like the positivity in the community, what is that going to lead to if it's amplified, if it's broadcasted everywhere? What is it going to lead to? And I think our job would be to amplify, to bring out what we do, and then we leave that responsibility to the government and say, okay, well, it's not, we're not all bad. So are you going to take out the bad apple, or are you just going to take everything out? And it's going to put that pressure on them so that they cannot ignore it. I mean, the data is there. Like Mel said earlier, they played a blind side to it. Like, okay, like $2,400,000,000,000 in taxes, but we're going to pretend like that didn't happen because it doesn't impact the whole country's GDP. It's maybe just a tiny percent of it, but that is still significant because if you count all the immigrant contribution, not only within the government but within the economy, if you take everything out, this whole country is going to crumble. Everything's going to break down. But I don't know if it's just they're just trying to play a blind eye to it to say, okay, well, the data is there, but we're going to pretend as if it's not there. But if we amplify the immigrant voice and we say, okay, this is a positive thing that is happening in the community, then the government, I don't think they would just come out and say, oh, okay, we'll ignore all the good and let's just take everything out.
Okay. So here's a couple of things to that, right? This again, let me and you guys can chime in here. There's a couple of things to that. Number one, it will amplify and elevate immigrant voices, right? Encourage people, like encourage folks that are making waves in this country, immigrants that are making waves in the country, to run for elected office, to run for local offices, right? Encourage them, right? Bring them to the fore, bring them to the light, tell their story, right? Is it there are a lot of local like right now we have Huda who's representing district 38, right? There's like who's telling who that story, right? Within the immigrant community. Or you have Maria here, who should have appeared here tonight. She's an immigrant, right? I mean, yesterday I was fortunate to be at the Minnesota state capitol. You have a lot of immigrants there that are serving the state at the level of senator and representative. But between you and I, right? I never knew that until I went over there yesterday, right? So there are a lot of positive stories happening around us. You go to there's a Liberian lady in Colorado. She's part of the I think she's part of the local legislature there. No one knows about her, right? So my thing is, you don't expect a Caucasian or whoever to come and tell these people's story. We got to like the number Mel quoted earlier. Mel love number. He loves quoting numbers, right? The number he quoted earlier, right? Who's putting that number out there? We should establish news organization within the immigrant community and tell our story. We should not look up to government. We should not look up to the Caucasian, whoever, to tell our story. So Peter says, it is our job to tell that. Once you tell that, like let her leave it wherever the chips may fall. That's the point I'm trying to make. But instead of us sitting here and making excuses, because it seems like to me it's like I've been sitting here and wondering where do we go wrong? There's so much this negative narrative around the immigrant community. Where do we go wrong?
I think if you really understood what I said when I said both sides of the aisle has a role to play, your argument is weak with that point you just made.
That's my argument. First of all, I feel like number one, or let me just finish the point. A liberal thing. You liberals always want those.
How they looking on Melvin?
Let them please both sides. So you want to get both sides. So for me, I'm going to say, hey, it's up. Go ahead.
When I said both sides of the aisle has a role to play, I'm not saying the immigrant community don't have anything to do with it. Yes, they do, right? That's why I said both sides of the aisle they need to play their role. Now, government play their role with just not just putting the negative narratives surrounding the immigration community out there like that. And that's where the government comes in. We're not blaming the government. Now, America as a whole, the word immigration make up America. Without immigrants, there won't be America. Do you agree or not? The face you see on there on news, everybody you see on here, one way or the other migrated from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The Native American are the original people of the U.S. of A. Now, outside of that, we all migrated from somewhere. So America is made of a lot of immigrants. And the stories are out there like that. You have immigrants that own institutions. You have immigrants that got businesses going. You got immigrants that are in it. Everywhere. I'm not just limited to Africa, right? I mean, holistically. Now, why is it that the negative narrative is going more than the positive contributions the immigration community making? Why? There's a reason to that. And the reason is
an agenda.
Specific group of people. And we are not playing the blame game here. You and myself doing well. You and I, we work in corporate America. We live in the U.S. of A. And we are proud immigrants. I'm a Liberian, right? And we are immigrants. We're sitting here talking about these things tonight. But what we're saying is, we're not trying to just say one group of people should be responsible to put this narrative out there. Everyone should play their part and speak of these positive things that the immigration community contributing to the U.S. of A, not just putting negative story out there. The immigrant taking our job. They come in here and they're causing trouble for us. Now, if you check crimes that have been committed, more
Okay.
Americans commit more crime than the immigrants. They killing
That
each
part.
other here in America. You will
That part.
barely hear an immigrant who migrate from Africa or everywhere around the world shooting somebody.
Okay.
Most of these things happen by the Caucasians.
Okay.
The data is there. I'm not making
Okay.
that up. Now, why are they not looking at that? But it's one or two immigrants that commit crime, which will happen in every sector, every part of the world you find yourself. There'll be good and bad people.
Yeah.
But they put the bad people out there more. And that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
The government has a role to play to put these positive stories out there as well, in as much as they play a lot of emphasis on the bad things that happen within the immigrant community.
Okay. Well, personally, I disagree with that. I don't need more government in my life. I need less government in my life. So there's so much government in my
And
life
I'm
right now. I
not
even
trying
need
to
less.
convince you to
So,
agree with it. I'm just
but
saying,
anyway, folks, tonight we are discussing all things immigration. We should have had Representative Maria Asa here tonight discussing living in limbo, but hopefully something came up. But hopefully we'll reschedule her. But tonight we decided, right, at Inner Cycle Park here, there's no dog movement here. So we decided to discuss all things immigration. And Ms. B said there's no legal pathway to come here. Everyone that come here, you are illegal. And Mel said, both sides, should tell our story. But anyway, Miss B, right, you mentioned earlier there was an agenda. I mean, I think maybe that's what Rebecca is trying to allude to here. Right? She said she don't like data anyway, right? She don't like data. But I would just push this aspect of it a little bit. I mean, and then add to that. What's the agenda? You think? What is the agenda? You always talk about agenda. What is the agenda?
Because I did my research. I'm the candidate now. I do my research and I find out, there's this large population of people who, have a lot of things going on in their life and they're looking for somebody to hold responsible, right? And you don't want to hold the government responsible, so you're going to put the blame on those people. And I'm going to play off of that. I'm a candidate. I want votes. I'm going to play off of that. And so if I run my campaign making promises, I'm going to now, stand up to those promises that I've made. And so that's just the reality. And for right now, I will be hyping that I'm doing something up, but I'm probably doing that thing to a minimal scale where I'm doing the other 95% of the things that I talked about too in my campaign. I'm doing on this side. But I'm going to utilize all the channels and the mode and the means to uplift this thing that I know these people down here who are struggling. They voted for me for the main reason they voted for me for was to what they believe is their huge problem here is, and that's the reality. There is a lot of misinformed and uneducated Americans who don't understand what it means to have immigrants in this country, who have a lot of issues that are going on in their life that they don't want to hold their government or systems responsible for, and they need somebody to blame. So therefore, the immigrant gets to be that blame. That gets to take that blame. And if I feel like my life can change, if the problem, if somebody's trying to solve the people who are causing the problem by removing them and my life can change, then yes, I'm going to support that. And that is what's happening right now, because like you said, deportation is not new. Deportation happens whether it's Republican or Democrat. The Democrats do it and they don't uplift it and highlight it in a way in which this administration is doing that. And we have to think about what is the root cause of that? What is the agenda behind it? I don't know 100% what it is, but I'm just thinking as a citizen here, like, why is this so important right now? Why is this the main highlight right now? To the extent, the part that's harmful is legal immigrants are being, taken. You talked about means of coming to this country. You say it's a work visa or it's a student visa, but who's being taken right now? People with student visas. People who are not even on student visa, who are green card holders and are students and having political stance or position, are being termed terrorists and are losing their right to be in this country, right? So the very things you highlighted as legal ways for people to enter or legal ways for people to be here is under attack. Because why? If you say something bad about me, oh, I'm going to take your green card. Oh, how dare you protest why put your voice in this Palestine Israel thing? I'm about to take your green card. I'm going to take your right to, or your citizenship or whatever your right to be in this country.
Yeah. I mean, Peterson, right? Ms. B said a lot there, but the one thing, a few things I'll pick up from there. She's saying like, there's I mean, the agenda she's trying to pull up to, right? Right now, there's a marginalized population who feels that, hey, maybe like, they are losing their jobs, and the reason why they are losing their jobs and their benefits or whatever is because of the immigrant population. But here's the thing, though, right? Again, I will come out to that telling story, right? The reason why maybe someone might be sitting in a small town in Minnesota here, or in Iowa, or in Texas, right? That thinking that because maybe the person have never seen an immigrant before. Maybe they have never, when they go on Facebook, they don't encounter any immigrants and things like that, right? There's not immigrant stores out there. And the other thing is, right, you have a lot of immigrants in this country that not even want to be bothered with politics, right? They rather bother with politics in their home country than bother with politics here. Again, whose fault is it? I mean, because right now all over the world, right, there's this populist, I mean, there's this populist things going on, right? Populism is taking all over the world, even in Africa, in Europe, right, all over, and that's what happened in America, right? I mean, at some point in time, the Republican Party was a party of what immigrants, was a part was a party of big business, right? That's what I remember. That's what got me drawn to it, right? But today those things are under attack because of populism, So I think like, if immigrants again, if we want to change your narratives, I think to me we gotta be politically active. We gotta tell our story instead of right. Okay, you have those. If someone is running on an agenda, I should also be able to run my own agenda.
Yeah, but then the immigrant population, a lot of people are proceeding with caution, basically, because if you want to run or if you want to put your voice out there, who to say, oh, I have to stick to this line and something. If I say something, I might be under attack or I might put myself in danger of being targeted.
Danger of what? You are a citizen. In danger of what?
No, but that's once again it goes back to the negative narrative that we've been talking about
Mhm.
because the minority feel that causing trouble, I guess, whose voices are being amplified through the news media. These are the routes that they take. They are political people who the government would seem like, okay, well, like Ms. B just said, if you say anything negative, then I mean there's a term they're going to say, oh, you're terrorist or domestic terrorist or something like that. So with that, everybody who even have the ambition to say, okay, I want to go and represent my people or this community, now they have to be cautious about how they go ahead with that because the motivation now is like you have to calm yourself down like, okay, do I really want to do this? Do I want to put myself into this spotlight so that people can look at me negatively? Because the people around me, if anybody does anything negative, that means it's going to reflect on me. So people now are kind of, I guess, scared to even come up to say they want to amplify their voice or to advocate and be out there politically.
Okay, but anyway, if you say that, so if we is that we are afraid to run for political office, we are afraid to. I mean, where do we draw the line? There is if we are afraid to do all of these things. It's like to me, right? Again, man, I think you guys just giving like bunch of excuses for things we should be doing, right? Is that for things we should be doing positive in this community. But folks, you can contribute to the conversation by putting a chat in the comment or calling our number 952-594-5154. Tonight we are discussing all things immigration. We are focusing mainly on folks that I mean, as I said, there's so much negative narrative around immigration right now. Folks are getting arrested all over. There's fear in the immigrant community. Before we come on here, Miss B said that like even Peterson said right, two folks were going to work and they got arrested. Folks are not going to work, afraid to go to work because who knows, ice might pop up from somewhere and just grab you. And then, it's like if you travel to Africa, you got a lot of folks who love to travel to Africa or maybe South America. If you're coming back, right, it's like a lot of scrutiny right now. So we're discussing all of those things tonight. So you can contribute to that conversation. But Mel, man, what is the way forward here? How can we? I know there's an element of fear. I mean, as you and I said earlier, people are terrified. But how can we calm those fears, right? Because it's, hey man, it's like, I mean, this seems to be a storm right now for the immigrant community, but I strongly believe, right, this storm is going to pass. But how can we? What do we need to do to calm those fears? To let people know, man, it's going to be okay. How can we support one another as a community?
Yeah, we can sit here and give all the good pieces of advice we know, call, you know, immigrant lawyer and say things you can do and you cannot do. The questions remain in the heads of legal immigrants when we just, emphasize on people that are legal and still being detained by the government, federal government, right? uh, People that are legal still being arrested and just sleeping on cement, sleeping on comfortable spaces simply because they travel outside America and trying to come back, right? So those questions still remain. Yeah, I think what we can do now is call to action, right? Um, Basically, call to action. Calling on our constituent leader, like areas we are. Um, Ask them to pass policy, people that are within even Congress, the higher level, right? To ensure that these things are addressed in a way that the message out there is we're not getting missed messages, right? It's clear on where the government stand and just emphasizing where they are going with it. Right now, there are a lot of questions as to where the federal government stand. Legal people being arrested, being detained, and people that are illegal also follow. So now, who is legal, right? The question just remain. So we can
Okay.
say all of these things, but what we can do as a community, what we can do as people, or what we can do as even the Caucasian people, they understand how immigrants are helping, contributing to this country. They know these things. If you'll be surprised, my brother, there are some Caucasian with me in this place that have never traveled outside of the border of Minnesota in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s. I've interacted with a few of these people. When you talk about places like Iowa or Fargo, near Minnesota, they haven't gone there, they just live here. So you got to understand there are people here that are narrow minded. They just remain, they know what they know. They know what they were told when they were coming up, and that's all they know, right? People that travel outside of America, that travel, vastly, it open the horizon, it open their understanding, tapping into those areas with them, making sure people understand who you are, where you from, your goal, your motive, right? Call to action.
Yeah.
Our local representative, let's get them involved. Let's have these conversations. What can we do to support them? What can we do to make sure these policies they are passing or things that they're talking about include the immigrant community? Get them involved. And also leaders, senators that represent Amy Klobuchar, one of the key senators of Minnesota that have been contributing tremendously to the immigration community, getting her involved.
Okay.
Leaders, our leaders within our local community, setting up these meetings to ask these necessary questions. What is
Okay.
being done by this government or by the government? What has been done to address these things that are happening to just reduce the state of chaos and questions that people have
Okay.
in their heads, right? I
Okay.
think little things, if we can do them, getting these right answers and reaching out to Congress as a whole to ensure they're amplifying the immigrant story, they're talking to the country as a whole, the
Yeah.
positive contribution immigration community is making. It will help tremendously, erase all of these things.
Okay. Well, when it comes to the issue of traveling, I think there's something about America. Once you move here, sometimes you become an anti-traveler, right? There are a lot of immigrants here as well, right? Maybe since there are some folks since they fall down in Minnesota, they have not even left Minnesota, right? So that's just a part of life. That's not only limited to someone who are born here or somewhere or to a congregation. They are Liberians or they are Ghanaians, they are Nigerian, they kind of fall down here. You tell them maybe the only place they might go back is their home country, but they don't even know Iowa or Illinois.
But there's a difference. If there's a
What's the
difference,
difference?
What?
the
They travel
difference.
to
Here's
come
the
here.
difference. The
Yeah,
They
difference
travel
is
to come
this
here.
person is from Nigeria here to America.
They
uh,
travel to come
They
here.
They
know,
travel to
yeah,
come
they
here, and
know
this person
outside of
haven't
this
left there. They
country.
haven't left state of
oh,
Minnesota, so
come on.
that's
You
a
see,
big
you
difference.
Yeah,
guys.
there's a difference.
Anyway,
They have a
anyway.
context of outside of America.
If,
Okay,
it, if
So
okay.
it's
people who
different
live
to
in
say
Minnesota,
there's a
born and
different
raised in
Okay,
Minnesota,
argument,
don't have a context outside of Minnesota. That's a huge
right?
difference.
There's a big difference.
okay,
If
okay.
it's
Well,
different to say for me to tell you this
that's
is black,
that's
knowing it's black, and then you see
that's
it's white. We can't argue that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. That's fair. I'll take it at your word. I'm just saying, right? A lot of immigrants are not taking the opportunity to explore America, right? That's some of the things we are missing too. But Miss B, though, right, is that in this kind of a heightened environment, in this chaos that we find ourselves as immigrants, what should we be doing? Should we be sitting on the sideline hoping the storm might pass, or should we be actively involved? Or maybe that you guys going to say, you know what, we should just be afraid, as Peterson said earlier. It's like you should be careful. I don't think we should be careful, but what do you think?
I think like any person will assess their environment and say, is this working for me? There's a lot of Americans who have left America and have settled in other countries, right? And so, even you as an immigrant, you are here and just say, is this my last stop? Migration is a thing that has been happening for, since time immemorial. So, you just start to think to yourself and say, is America my last stop? Is there other places that I could
So
go
your,
and
so your
be
advice,
settled?
your advice is telling people to pack up and run. Is that what you're trying to say?
My advice
Really?
is to
Voluntarily,
assess
voluntarily.
It's a
assess
pack,
your
pack up,
environment,
pack up and run, pack up and run. Really?
assess your environment and make the decision about where is best for you to continue to reside. That's a real question that people should be considering, right?
Okay.
America is not the only successful country in the world. Again, there's a lot of Americans, born Americans, who leave this country and go and live somewhere else. Think about all the celebrities that are choosing to live outside of this country right now. Maybe there's something they know that we don't know. We should be
No,
thinking
it's
about it,
because I think it's because their political view, but anyway, but that's a whole different topic. But
And so that's
but
my
Peterson,
advice
though,
right now.
Peter,
That's my serious advice to really
okay,
assess and see if this is the best place for you.
Peterson, I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, Miss B is giving such. It's like, imagine, right? You can imagine you spent 5 years in Danande. I don't know how many years, crossing that years ago, and then Miss B is telling you, right, that now you should assess the environment after living, for a long time. You should assess the environment and maybe like try to go back to Liberia. Really? I think, right? I think Peterson. Here's what the immigrant community should be doing. And hey, you can let me hear you. The immigrant community should be rallying. We should be rallying one another, encouraging folks, right, to get politically or civically engaged, right? We shouldn't sit on the sideline. We should get involved, right? This place, as Mel mentioned earlier, right, there's a country of immigrants, and for you to come here and say, "Hey, man, someone's going to run you out of here," I don't think you should take that, right? Because you know, I would say America is the most prosperous country we have right now on earth. So it's like we should do something, right, to play our part and find our place here, right, instead of packing up and run, as Miss B is suggesting. What's your take on that? What should we be
Yeah.
doing?
So even with what Ms. B said, those celebrities that choosing to go to other places is for a time. Like, I don't think a lot of them are saying, "Okay, now I'm leaving from from America for good, and I'm never coming back. I'll only come back to visit." A lot of them,
Tina Turner hadn't lived here for years, for decades. Tina Turner has not had not lived in America.
but she's still
There's a
American
lot of
citizen.
people that are not living in America for decades, not just for a time. But anyways, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, but to your point, I think it is something that the immigrant community can do to get involved, like within your local government or something. But it it would take a lot to convince everybody to come to that mindset, because if we have just a few people with political aspirations that want to either be engaged within their local government, but then everybody else is sitting on the sidelines, it's still not going to work. So we need to come up with ways to engage the whole community. It's not, and everybody's not going to be political, but for everybody to at least support. And we're not all going to be representatives, but if you have that one person that you feel like, okay, this person can represent our local community, we need to support that person so that they can go and represent us, so that we can have voice out there. Because a lot of times in a lot of these communities, we don't have like we don't have anybody at the table. So if the government can say, oh, okay, everybody in the northwest suburb of Chicago, we cancel everybody get out of here. We don't have if we don't have anybody from the immigrant community say, okay, let's take a break and let's investigate and see what's the best way forward instead of just like doing this
Right.
terrifying stuff that they're doing now. So yes, the community needs to be engaged, and we need to rally around each other, encourage people. Like, yeah, this is not the end of the world. And like Ms. B said earlier, if you are on, if your head's on the chopping block, it's not the end of the world. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, right? I think Mel, you quoted a data here. You the data guru here. You can go and really do your research, and the Cycle podcast appreciate you for that because you like to quote data, which is good, right? Data give high fives to people. But one of the data you quoted here the last time, right? Like especially when it comes to the African immigrant population, right? You talk about I think how many millions were in this country, right? Legally that I think not a citizen or what have you. But then like in the US Congress, we only have one. So one. So the African descent, representing the Ihan Omar. That's representing kind of representing us because someone that look like you, I mean, whether you like it or not, that person kind of represents you, right? Because hey, she's one of you. It's
Yeah.
only one. It's like the two things that people, if you, the two things that makes you be at the table in this country, African immigrants as a whole try to avoid that. One, like Miss B, like she and I have a show Wednesday, right? We talk about finance. The immigrant community, we try to avoid those topics. Politics, we try to avoid it. What it is that what are we going to do to try to change that? Because it's like man, we have so many here. Especially like let me come specific to our community, African immigrant community. What are we going to do to change your things, man?
Yeah, it great question, my brother. So there are a lot of reasons, and not to make excuses. There are a lot of reasons why things happen in that manner. I'm not making excuses, but these are facts. Immigrants move to America to make their lives better, right? Remember now, remember their counterpart have foundation or has foundation. This is where they're from. This is where they originate from. So some of them have that foundation to get into something and be successful. There are a lot of immigrants within the immigrant community, not just limited to Africans, the Hmong, and everywhere else that trying to get involved within these within government to represent their people, right? But we are limited. The challenges they are faced with is just a lot. There's just few of them that will try to just take on these things. And the reason is if you migrate from your country coming here, you're coming to start from just the beginning, right? You're starting afresh. Know that you're starting afresh. So starting afresh, your focus is to make sure your family, has what the family needs to move on and be successful. So the focus is just focus on, hey, I'm trying to check for look, make sure my family has stability. And getting stability is you doing business, you working hard, and encouraging your family to work hard. In turn, you forget about those key things of public service, right? And these are the challenges. The financial piece you mentioned is another one. Why did we move to the US of A? If things were running fine in our original country, where in countries where we have things running fine, you think we'll be here in the first place? Absolutely not. If things are running like well, you think I want to think about coming to America? I'll come and visit and go right back. And a lot of immigrants fall in that bucket. So we got to look at it from that angle. Now, representation is key. It will take time. It'll be generational. It's happening. It's just gonna die. People's eyes are opening now. The upcoming generation will get involved. You yourself set that foundation. I want to assume you may be one of the first people that come from your family to move to the US of A. When did that start happening? I'm speaking of Liberia. When the war happened in Liberia, multiple Liberians started coming to the US of A. So coming here, you starting from fresh. So these are the challenges we are faced with. Now, does that mean we should sit back and not try to do something to make things better and get involved? Absolutely not. But we need people within our community too to get involved. Leadership, good leadership. We have an organization within the Liberian community. What is the organization doing? The OLM. I don't know what they've been doing. And these are people that should be channeling these things and reaching out to people. They are not doing that, right? And getting your community involved. That's why you created that organization. What's the name? Organization of Liberians in Minnesota. You're representing the Liberians within the Minnesota constituent or Minnesota state. Get engaged. Let's do these things. Let have good leadership. And that's how gradually we can start seeing somebody that can represent all, and we can rally around that person or those individuals, supporting them. So that in time they are not saying, you know what, I'm not getting the support I need. I'm going to work on just getting my job, my 9 to 5 job. And these are things that are limiting the immigrant community, my brother. There are a lot of challenges, and those are some of them I need. I just need.
It's big though. I mean, in light of those challenges, though, I mean, as I said, it's like every time you come here as an immigrant, there are a lot of other immigrants here, right? And I think last night Ali mentioned utilizing our network. Don't you think? To me, I think like our inability to utilize or to either try to somehow step out of our comfort zone, maybe go to other communities, right? Is like we trying to, as you come here, you try to what live with your community and maybe try to get out of it and try to what form relationships. These are things I think we are not doing enough of. Why is that, Miss B?
The reality is, what if I say anything and you would say it.
What's the reality? Tell me the reality. Tell us the reality. Tell the audience the reality.
This is the thing. People are coming from, and I think Melvin kind of touched on it. People are coming from a place where they are escaping political persecution, and so they bring some of that fear here too. So that's why you may not see some of that representation, existing when it comes to the immigrant population. But even when we talk about the folks that are here and trying to be to have representation, right? You disregard a lot of the reasons and the barriers and why, right? When we talk about you want immigrants to come and have representation, but you don't really address the fact that there are people here in this country who are born and raised here, in recent times, who are still fighting for the opportunity to have representation, right? And so it's like, before you even get to us, you hop over them and you come to us, and you're putting that pressure on us immigrants to come here and be involved politically and want to have reputations. Like I want to be my brother's keeper. I see what's happening to my brother. I'm going to be hesitant to want to put my foot in that race as well, right?
Mhm.
If they've been persecuted and ill-treated for decades, right? What is in this to say that, what, I'm going to be able to jump in this and have a voice and make a difference? Like, one of our viewers rightfully said that even when you are invited to the table, you are still silent there if you are the lonesome voice that is there, right? So I think I agree with you, representation matters, right? But look at all the stuff that has happened. You cannot disregard that people have not been fighting for centuries to have a voice, to have representation, to only land where we are in 2025 to being attacked. Yes, we are under attack. Immigrants are under attack in this country, whether legal or illegal. You're under attack, right? And so that in itself is going to set people back now for God knows how many years to come, where you don't want to be involved in the political process, and some people decided not to be involved by not voting. It's a serious thing that happened. And, the Democratic Party has their work cut out for themselves. A lot of people just decided, I'm not going to be involved. And that's from immigrants to American citizens who chose to not be involved in the 2025 elections because of what's going on. And so now we're faced with the situation that we're faced with. But me, I'm always encouraging our folks to get involved, no matter what. We
Okay.
can't be
Anyway,
defeated. The revolution will not be won overnight. That's just the reality. So if you
okay.
hear you
Anyway,
came on this soil, you need to join.
anyway, it was a 2024 election, and the other thing is, I think you guys are
The
always going to be
2024
using.
elections, whatever.
You guys are always going to be using our past history to to kind of to create limitation on us. But anyway, Peterson, though, this is a 1 hour show. We've been going for 1 hour, like 14 minutes.
Yeah,
Now. It's a great
yeah.
show, very great show, right? Discussing all things immigration. But as we wrap up here, man, what is the message, right? You want to leave with folks tonight as we discuss auto immigration, right? A lot of chaos out there. In all seriousness, right? A lot of chaos out there. You know, I still believe in the promise of America, right? Is that I think that this country still has great things to offer, no matter, no matter where you find yourself. But what's the message you want to leave with folks out there tonight as we, as they find out, as we find ourselves in this troubling, terrifying, chaotic, confusing environment?
Yeah, thank you, Mel, Miss B, as always, and Miss Rebecca that was contributing with the comments. Thank you all for this great discussion. But for me, as I end for tonight, I want to say yes, things seem like it's so bleak right now. It's chaotic. There's a lot of fear, and rightfully so. But at the same time, uh, is this is not the end. Everything has time, and when it comes, we have to brave for that storm. You have to brace for the storm and like settle down. So when the winds are coming and the storm's coming, it's not time to go out and be running around. You have to stand your ground and brace yourself for it. So I'm saying that to say that yes, there's a lot of fear out there, but this doesn't mean that it's the end of it all. We still this is the time now that we need to get more engaged, and even if we do not have representation at the table currently, it will come. Everything takes time, but in the meantime, we need to rally around each other, encourage people, and let them know that yes. There are things that's happening now, but do not do not fear and don't have that fear. But always be aware of your surroundings and be aware of your life, basically. So thank you all for a great discussion.
Thank you, Peterson, for that great answer. Both side Mel. I mean, the Mel with the both sides tonight. Both side Mel. What's the message you want to leave with folks out there in this chaotic, confusing,
Shout out to Will.
terrifying? Yeah, you want to
I
you
think
come and tell people, say, hey, you know what, just rely on the both sides. That both side Mel tonight, the Mel on both sides. But anyway, what's the message you want to leave our audience out there that have been listening to us tonight? Right? It's like people are there's fear out there, there's a lot of confusion out there. It's chaotic. What's the message you want to leave with folks tonight?
thank you, Eb. Thank you, Eb. For those that understood, that heard me saying both sides, kind of gave a lot of examples, and I went in detail with that. I'm not trying to say and just be neutral, but it's factual. However, I'm going to close here tonight by saying, uh, our people that are afraid, right? Let us understand legal immigrants and illegal immigrant. If you are legal in this country, you are legal here, right? Just part of all that happen. If the government arrests you or ICE arrest you, you know, know that they're not just going to take you and say we're deporting you. There's a process through that, and through doing that process, you will present your documentation, your status, and all of that. I know it's painful, being arrested and detained at some point in time, but there's a legal process. Government will not just arrest you and say, "I will send you back." We had an immigrant lawyer who happens to be a Liberian that was on the show a while back, and he gave a lot of examples on those things. So I'm just using now on the basis of the facts he gave because I'm now a legal immigrant lawyer. He said those things, so I want to say that. So people that have fear that are legal, I think, you know, it's okay to be free. It's okay to go to your work once you are legal. For our brothers and sisters within the immigration community that came to America seeking opportunity but still looking for status, this is about time that you seek a legal counsel. Look for someone that can help you with the information you need to navigate the system and get your status, right? You don't want to come here, leaving your country of origin, coming here to hustle, and then boom, you be deported. We've seen people lives being destroyed. Our brothers and sisters that come to America and then something happened, then they move back. They kind of deport them back home. the pressure alone, the societal judgment alone,
Okay.
it ties you down and destroys you. So try your best to basically just work on that piece.
Okay.
Deportation is a serious thing, right? If you come in America or you leave your country, and basically you are not trying to do good and try to do the illegal thing, that you drunk driving. These are factual stuff, right? You're abusing people and you
Okay.
are arrested over and over, you'll be deported. So if you're involved in these kind of things, you know where you're from. We are here for a reason. We all come to America for a reason. So I'll close tonight, everybody. Don't be afraid. If you are legal, things will happen, but it will not just deport you. Let us try to get involved in our community, like everyone else is saying. Get involved within our local government. Get involved with our state leaders. Get engaged. Don't
Yeah.
be a spectator. So we can advocate for the community. We are doing great. You're paying taxes every day as you work. America should be. You should be proud to be in America.
Okay.
Don't let anybody kind of bully you. I'll close with that tonight. And I'll say thank you to you, Ib, Miss B, and my brother Peterson from Chicago. Like he always introduced himself. I'm excited
Okay.
about the conversation. I think we learned a lot here tonight. Thank you everybody for contributing, and just sticking with us. We try to do our best to talk about things that impact our community in a positive way. We might not know it all. We may not have the information, but here we are. We do research. Just come here and talk to things. We bring people here to share light on it. Let's share this conversation, continue to share in the cycle podcast. Carol, just share it. Share. These are important stuff. We're not trying to be dramatic. We're not trying to bring things here to tie people down or bring people down. We try to uplift our community. And you see us here, we are firing because we're coming from two different angles. It might see it from a different angle. It's not to kind of put an argumentative forum on it. It's just seeing it from a positive standpoint. So thank you guys.
Both side mail. That's a great speech. Great speech, man. Great speech, both side mail. Miss B, you say tonight folks should pack their stuff and self deport or maybe go find somewhere else they can go and be, right? It's like anyway, and the other say so there's an agenda, the other stuff you say, when everybody come here illegally and then you got to find your legal means. But anyways, those are all different topics. But what's the message that you want to leave with folks tonight? Is it for them to pack their things and leave, or or stop assessing the environment? What's the message you want to leave with folks in this chaotic environment, in this confusing environment, in this terrifying environment? How can we support one another as immigrants?
It's not that bad. Like Peterson said, don't let fear, don't get caught up in fear and the storm and be distracted right now. Stay focused in the midst of chaos. The best thing you can do is to stay focused, right? And kind of like what Melvin said, representation matters. And I feel like Melvin's going to be running for office. 2026 midterm elections is coming up. You living in that city of Plymouth, you need representation there, brother. Yeah. Diversify that city council in that city there, right? And Peterson, you too. Go ahead and diversify the council. And good luck getting on that paper group.
So, so here's it. So here's it. Like, I'll let you finish your thought. I'll let you finish your thought.
Get on that paper growth council, right? So, and that's the message I'm gonna leave with people. Just think about, what part can you play in your community to make that change? A little bit goes a long way. The 2026 election, midterm election, is going to be here soon. If not you, who can you find to support, right? We have to, and that's the problem. We don't plan soon enough. You can't wait till next year, June, and say you want to run for office in November. Come on, folks. Let's start planning now. If I can help, can be some assistance to your campaign, let me know. Hit me up. I love working on political campaigns. I've been a campaign manager before and won. Just supported another major campaign and we won again. That's what I'm going to leave you guys with. If you want to run for office in 2026, hit your girl up. Let's start planning now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. But here's the thing though. I think we here at Inner Cycle Podcast, we have found our calling, right? To amplify immigrant voices, to elevate immigrant voices. The things we do here night in and night out, 4 nights a week, I think it is to elevate our community. So whether we the panelists here, we here at Inner Cycle Podcast run for political office, but I think we are doing some great job, as Mel mentioned earlier. So I think we can encourage folks, right? Those are interested in politics to run. Well, I think we have found our calling, right? We want to we want to focus, trying to amplify our voices and amplify the immigrant voices. And I think night in and night out, 4 nights a week, you guys do a great job doing that, right? It's like, Mel, man, you're always fire up. Peterson from the great state of Illinois and from the great city, windy city of Chicago, you always do that. Ms. B always bring her liberal views on here, trying to blame the system, trying to find an agenda. But night in and night out, we do a great job trying to elevate our voices and things like that, and trying to bring some great guests on here. So now we have one, but unfortunately she couldn't make it, but we'll reschedule her. And last night we had another good guest. So I think that the job we are doing at Inner Circle Podcast, when CNN started in 1980, though, it didn't just blow up. It started somewhere, and today, right, CNN is a global. I see Inner Circle Podcast going there, right, because we are elevating immigrant voices. So thank you so much, guys. It was a great conversation tonight. It was a heated conversation, but it was great. So, folks, good night. Thanks so much for listening to us. Thanks to our great panelists. We encourage you to, join everything like that. So, good night, folks.
In a Circle Podcast where hearts unite, sharing our truths bring